Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear? Okay. Others, audio, video, good. Yeah. Right. If you have any friends who are planning to join but haven't joined yet, ask them to join. We'll start in another 3 minutes. Right. We'll start in another 3 minutes. Yeah. You can send the Zoom link to anyone that is doing science. Doing facing O levels in another how many days? Starting 10th, right? How many days do you have? 6 days, right? Yeah. So you can't count today, and yeah, 5 days left. Starting 17th. What do you mean? Postponed? What happened? Was it postponed? No, right? 17th. You're starting on 17th, right? So, but the thing is, I think legally we are supposed to stop all classes by 10th. No. Yeah, that's what I mean. Right. So, yeah. We are supposed to stop all classes by 10th, I think. That is true, right? Okay. So, yeah, definitely we have time. So, have time means according to my plan. So, this is an extra session happening today, no? Right? So, because of the request I got from the last session, uh, I'm doing this past paper discussion from the most recent papers, right? And this Friday, we have our main seminar number 2, that is from grade 11, that is going to cover body systems and probably biosphere part, right? Because it's very question heavy. So those two sections will be covered on this Friday. Okay. So this is an additional session. We are going to discuss some questions today. Particularly, what I want to do is not to go into much detailed explanations, but while when I'm showing you a question on the board, you and me together, we are going to find the answers in the textbook. Then I'm going to do a small explanation, and my sort of, let's say, my goal today is to sort of visually familiarize you with answers in the textbook. There's no time for me to teach anything, right? I can sort of help you remember, or for someone who haven't done any studying, I can give you a small understanding. But the plan today is to sort of for the final time, um, show you where the answers are on the textbook. That's the plan, and do some background explanation. Okay, all clear, right? Audio, video. Okay, right. So we'll start. Huh? So it's a past paper discussion today, and in seminar 1, we covered a lot of human reproduction, and particularly then we moved on to talk about inheritance, right? When we move on to talk about inheritance, so I think we'll better start with uh, this question. Okay, fine. Okay. Anyone else? People who said they will join but haven't joined yet, they can watch the recording, right? Okay. Valuable guest paper. Let's see, right? I have to study a little bit. Study means I have to go through all the recent papers, but I have been doing that. But it's let's say, right? I don't usually do that, but I'll try to send you something. Okay. Okay. There's this question that is very related to what we covered last week that I want to see if you can remember. So this essay, all right? Shall we start this with this one? This is 2018, right? This is 2018 past paper, all right? Shall we start with this question? Okay. Um, no, no, we are doing everything. Huh? We are doing everything. Okay. If you have the past paper book, I mean, no need for you to have the past paper book with in your hands because I'm going to be displaying it. What I want you to have is the textbook with you, right? The textbook with you, so you can follow what I say in relation to the let's say theory. I mean the textbook content. Okay, හරිද? Shall we start? අද උදේ ඉඳලා පාඩම් කරන්න නැතිනේ, right? But shape එකේ මේකට attention එක දෙන්න, right? It's a past paper discussion, so it's important. Okay, question number 5A. Human reproductive process is coordinated by chemical substances known as hormones associated with the reproductive system. State separately in relation to each system a hormone secreted by the male and female reproductive system which coordinate their function. Right? Simple. Right? අපිට මේල් සට මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ? ටෙස්ටීස්. ටෙස්ටීස් වලින් හදන්නේ මොකක්ද? ටෙස්ටොස්ටෙරෝන්, right? වචන ඔයගොල්ලෝ හොඳට දන්නවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. But where you can lose marks is when you are writing. Spellings හොඳට pay attention. Otherwise, අපරාධේ marks. Okay. Then the female, we can say they have two main, let's say, අපි කියනවා ඒවා reproduction associated hormones. අපිට ඒවට කියනවා steroid hormones, we can call them. Right? What are they? According to your uh, textbook, this is how we write estrogen or estrogen. I mean, එකක් ලිව්වම ඇති, any one of the answers will give you full marks. You can write progesterone as well. Estrogen and progesterone. So males have testosterone. So tell me, Taggala, what what is the age that males start to secrete testosterone? What is the age males start to secrete testosterone? What do you call that? That transition period from being a child to an adult? Puberty. Right? Puberty, adolescence. Okay, adolescence or puberty. And because of the effect of testosterone, what do you get? What do you get? Secondary sexual characteristics in males. What do you get? Hair, voice deepens, sperm production starts, hair in the chest, face, and in the pubic region, right? What else? Shoulders broaden, muscle mass increases. What else? Yes. What else? What are the secondary sexual characteristics of a male? Voice deepens. I already mentioned that. Yes. Anything else? Why does your voice become deep? Taggal again. Why does your voice become deep? මේවා අහන්න පුළුවන්. Why does the voice become deep? According to your textbook, it's because your larynx enlarges. What is the larynx? It's the upper part of the respiratory system. Okay, where you have your what? Where you have your vocal cords. Vocal cords. But actually, what happens is the vocal cords become more, let's say, more thick. In a male, the vocal cords are more thick. Therefore, males have a deeper voice, right? Bones and muscles grow faster, which is actually common for both male and females. Genitals start to grow larger, and testosterone. Sorry, uh, all these happen because of the testosterone hormone. Taggal in females, like what is going to happen in females because of estrogen? Pubic region widens mainly, right? The hip region widens for the childbearing purpose, right? On the pregnancy, they can carry the pregnant baby, okay? And mammary glands, breasts start to become bigger, right? Fat deposits, right? So males and females have different patterns of fat deposit, okay? Usually males actually have low body fat. Body එකේ තියෙන fat percentage, right? අපේ මේනික. Look, if you take a skin fold, you can feel the body fat, no? Right? Underneath your skin, අපි ඔට කියනවා subcutaneous fat here. Usually females have more body fat around their breast, around the hips, right? Around the legs, they have more body fat. Females, okay? Yeah, and also they start to produce ova from the ovaries, and their menstrual cycle or the bleeding starts, right? Taggalemu second question. Figure 1 shows the phases of the female reproductive cycle or the menstrual cycle, right? Reproductive cycle. It separately illustrates how the changes in hormone concentration in blood, changes in the ovary, and the changes in the uterus. Right? I told you, your ovary, what happens is the ovarian cycle. No? Ovarian cycle is the what? Lokkane. Ovarian cycle is in control, right? What is he controlling? He is controlling the uterine cycle. Right? Ovarian cycle is controlling the uterine cycle. Ovarian cycle is controlling the uterine cycle. So everything, I mean, whatever uterus does happens because of whatever the ovary started. Right? Ovary is in control. ඇත්තටම ovary in control. Who is in control? උඩම ඉන්නේ කවුද? උඩම ඉන්නේ කවුද? Who is regulating all this? Who is secreting FSH and LH? ටක් ගාලා කියන්න. ටක් ගාලා කියන්න. Who is secreting FSH and LH? Yes? Pituitary. Very good. So your brain, part of the brain actually controls. The මෙයාටත් වඩා උඩ කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. There's a controller for pituitary as well, but I won't mention, right? So pituitary is secreting FSH and LH. In response to that, the ovarian cycle happens. Ovarian cycle controls the uterine cycle, right? So this question, according to the figure, from which day does the menstrual phase of the female reproductive cycle start? So what are they asking? Menstrual phase. What happens in the menstrual phase? What happens in the menstrual phase? Ken. The uterine lining that goes building, the uterine lining is building. What is the example I took? It's like if you become pregnant, it's like a house guest. So what is the house? The uterus. The baby is the guest, right? So the house has to be nicely prepared. Aluten bed sheet dala, right? On that you have to prepare the house for the guest. But most of the time, in most of months, there is no baby. So what's going to happen? The uterine lining may bedsheet ඔක්කොම ආපහු ගලවලා දාන්න. So that's why the uterine lining is being removed in the menstrual phase, right? Menstrual phase of the uterine cycle. So what are they asking? From which day does the menstrual phase of the female reproductive cycle start? They're asking starting date. So can you say day 28 වලදී the thickness is maximum, right? Can you see? Day 28, the thickness is maximum. The shedding or the breakdown of the uterine lining starts at day 1. So the answer is, you can just say day 1. Obviously, if you don't know anything, right? If you don't know anything about the uterine cycle, you can clearly see මෙතන ඉඳලා it starts to break down. Name a hormone secreted by the pituitary gland that affects the function of this cycle. Right? ඒකත් මෙතන දීලා තියෙනවා. Right? Even if you can't remember the letters, you can imagine උඩම ඉන්න දෙන්න තමයි probably controlling. So you can write any of these two, right? Either FSH or LH, right? Nothing difficult. What is the main phenomenon that occurs in the ovary by about the 14th day? Monkey work, right? There is something happening here. Can you see in this diagram? Right? At the beginning here, you can see there's a follicle growing, ovarian follicle that is growing. Inside, what are you going to have? The growing ovum. අලුතෙන් release වෙන්න යන egg එක. That ovum is going to get larger with the follicle, and on the 14th day, with what? This peak level in the LH. Can you see the LH peak? Because of that, there is going to be what we call as ovulation. There is ovulation. So by the day 14, you can clearly see. I'll extend this line. Right? I'll extend this line. මෙහෙම බලන්න. Right? It is nicely matching with day 14. It is nicely matching with day 14. So what is going to happen in the ovary by the 14th day? Can ovulation. It really easy. During which time interval of the cycle is there a chance for the fertilization of the ovum? Oh. During which time interval? So what do you need for fertilization? You need an egg. You need a sperm. But sperm is available any day of the month, right? If you are married, so let's say the husband is ready to give you sperm any day of the month. Okay, it doesn't matter. You know, sperms are produced every day. Make a done, right? Millions of sperms are being produced every day. Okay, so the husband is ready anytime. Okay, so the sperms are readily available any day of the month. Sperms are readily available. Okay, you know, males don't make it a problem. So forget about the male. The husband is ever ready. Okay, so what do you need? The egg you need, right? For the fertilization, you need an egg, no? So in which days do you have an egg? In which days do you have an egg? Yes, starting from day 14, we say a female is fertile. Starting from day 14, we say a female is fertile for about 7 days. A female is fertile for about 7 days. What do you mean by fertile? There is a chance that the egg can be fertilized by a sperm within these 7 days. Okay. What is this duration? From the day of ovulation, that is day 14. Day 14 in the la. Usually day 21 when a 7 days, there is a chance for this newly released egg to meet a sperm. Okay. Not 28, right? By day 28, the egg has probably passed, right? By day 28, the egg has probably passed. Okay. So the best time period is, okay, day 7, sorry, day 14, I'm sorry, day 14 to day 21 is the best. Right? These are real, I mean, real advices we have to give, right? So, අපේ clinic එකට එනවා usually couples that are trying to get pregnant, trying to get babies, right? It's like our, what do we call as, it's very ironic, right? Couples who are not trying to get pregnant at all, young couples, 18, 19, 20 years, that are trying to avoid being pregnant, they can get pregnant very quickly. But couples who are married and couples who are having nice jobs and ready to start a family, they have trouble getting pregnant. Okay, එහෙම issue එකක් තියෙනවා. So we advise the couple to engage in intercourse during these days 14 to 21 if you want to get pregnant. Okay, Right, in two steps, what happens in the course of a fertilized human ovum becoming an embryo? Ovum to embryo, right? I'll go to Taggala, my tute, right? That we did last week, or even better, I'll go to your textbook, right? Which is, I mean, I think it's better to familiarize you with your own textbook, right? Taggala metana තියෙනවා නේද? You can see uh, what you need to say. Okay, so what are the words that you have to say? You have to say becomes a morula, right? So you have to say uh, above here. You have to say this word morula. Definitely, you have to mention. Yes, right. Taggala මෙතන බලන්න. Right. These are the words that you have to mention. So fertilized ovum becomes a single cell, but what? Diploid, right? It has two DNA copies, so it's a single cell diploid cell. It rolls towards the uterus. It increases the number of cells. You have to say it becomes morula. Then it implants, or you can say, I mean, the word implantation definitely have to be there. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම implantation කියන එක ලියන්න ඕනේ. So short answers. I prefer if you wrote මෙහෙම. Right? I prefer if you wrote like this. Cell division. So you can see the single cell morula, sorry, zygote becomes two, right? ඒ වගේ cell division. Then say it becomes a morula, that is about your day 5. ඊළඟට ලියන්න. It implants. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? It sort of plugs into the නිකන් අර plug socket එකට ගැහුවා වගේ it plugs into the uterus. Right? It plugs into the uterus. So those are the verbs that are going to get you marks. Okay. Um, right, in two steps. So yeah. So what I prefer, if you have to say cell division becomes a morula, then implants. Or you're going to get 2 marks. State a common disease caused by a species of bacteria that is sexually transmitted and has become a social menace. So in your syllabus, yes, it is mitosis. Okay, it is mitosis. Okay, what the cell division that is happening is mitosis. Huh? Okay, mitosis. So in your syllabus, you have only two bacterial. That is the bacterial disease that they are asking. You have two bacterial diseases, that is syphilis, then gonorrhea. Anyone is okay. Syphilis and gonorrhea. Okay. Syphilis and gonorrhea. Taggala කියන්න, what are the full names? Taggala කියන්න, what are the full names of syphilis? What is the full name of the syphilis bacterium? Taggala කියන්න Treponema pallidum. Right? Treponema pallidum. But since they are asking, හොඳට බලන්න අහන්නේ they are the disease they are asking, so you have to write the name of the disease, which is syphilis. But if they ask the bacteria, you have to say Treponema pallidum. And gonorrhea is called by Ken. Neisseria gonorrhoeae, right? හොඳට spellings check කරන්න Neisseria gonorrhoeae, right? So that's that question. අපි මේකත් කරමු බලන්න, right? I'll do this systems with the Friday seminar, but we'll complete this question. A person scared by a snappy dog. Snappy කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? හපන්න එනවා, right? Which two systems do the electrical and chemical coordination, right? So what are the systems involved in electrical coordination? Yes, if you take your coordination systems, right, in your body, there are two types of coordination. There's a very fast one, right? Very fast one, that is electrical, right? That electrical coordination is by what? අපි කියනවා current එකෙන් යන්නේ කියලා, right? Small voltage charges. That is your nervous system. Based on nervous system. Then there's another system involved in coordination, that is mainly chemical. It is by your hormones. What are these chemicals? The hormones. Hormones are secreted by your endocrine system. Okay, endocrine system. මෙතන දීලා තියෙනවා you have some endocrine glands they have given you. What is mainly only the adrenal gland is the endocrine gland that is given. Tell me what are the parts of the nervous system that is given here? Cerebrum, eye is part of the nervous system, medulla, spinal cord, those are all part of the nervous system. They work with electrical charges, voltage, producing voltage. Okay. Others, I mean, the endocrine system works by producing what? By hormones, by producing hormones. Send your questions to the main chat, Pura, okay? Okay, otherwise I'm going to miss most of the sort of your questions that is being asked personally. Okay, send everything to the main chat. Okay. Taggalena. Using the relevant parts in figure 2, write schematically using arrows the connection from the receptor to the effector in the system relating to electrical coordination. No. හරි. දැන් මොකද්ද මෙතන වෙන්නේ? Snappy dog. කපන බල්ලෙක් එනවා. How do you detect there's a snappy dog? What is your sensor? Imagine your robot. What is your sensor? How do you detect there's a snappy dog? How do you detect there's a snappy dog? Oh, okay, you can hear. You're not a බල්ලෙක් කියලා නැහෙන්නේ. How do you know he's a violent dog? ඇස් දෙකෙන්නේ, right? Sharp teeth අරමේව තියෙනවා. So you visibly see that there's a snappy dog which is a danger to me. This dog is a danger to me. So that is by the eye, right? So your eye, I'll just put arrows here, right? All the organs are given here, right? You see with your eye, but that's not enough. You need a processor, no? But so you imagine you have a computer, you need a central processing unit, you need a CPU. That is your brain or the cerebrum. Okay. Then so cerebrum, you are going to process, okay, this is a dog, this is a violent dog, this dog can bite me. All that happens, processing happens in your cerebrum, and the cerebrum is going to take an action. There's a central control unit is going to take action. That action is going to have to be sent to an effector. What is the effect that you are going to do? What are you going to do? You are going to run. That running action is done by your muscles. So how is your brain connected to your muscles? Through the spinal cord. Okay. And from the spinal cord, there are nerves that are coming out. And one of those nerves are going to, all those nerves are going to supply the muscles in your lower body. That right? Spinal cord again, you have nerves. I'll show you some spinal cord diagram. Okay. So what is the scheme? Eye, cerebrum, spinal cord to the muscles. If only if you have written completely all three, sorry, four, you're going to get the marks. Right? State one function carried out by the adrenal gland in relation to the coordination process. Okay. So I told you for coordination, you can have nervous coordination. That is what's happening here. Then there's the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, as the name says, it can secrete adrenaline. You have heard this very common hormone. Adrenaline hormone can trigger what is called fight or flight. So, මට කියන්න බලන්න, what is this person doing? Is he fighting or is he fleeing? මොකක්ද දෙයක්? Yeah, දුවනවා. බල්ලට මුකුත් කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. He got scared and he's going to just run away, right? Yeah, he's going to run away. So your adrenal gland has so many actions, right? According to your textbook, I'm not going to say anything extra, so I have to be careful, right? Your adrenal gland has these functions. Sorry, adrenaline has these functions. Hold on. Prepare the body to activate in an emergency. Yeah, that's all that they say, right, in your textbook. But actually, Adrenal gland works as part of your sympathetic system, right? Sympathetic kilcan, that's the system that is active when you're in a danger, right? So it's going to help your heart to pump more blood. It increases your heart rate, right? It blood pressure increases, so you are getting more energy to the blood, to the muscles. Okay, so that question is done. Really easy question. Question number C1. A, B, C, D, and D are optical microscope diagrams of some plant and animal tissues. Okay, write the names. Okay, what do we have to do? We have to identify. So it's difficult with these sort of quality, very nice quality diagrams. Immediately, if you are familiar, you are going to understand. These are what we call as are striated muscles, right? Striated muscles. If you draw a muscle, right? If you have Meheman, sort of lines that are going across like this, right? Those are called striated muscles. So, in such, what are the types of muscles that you have those kind of lines or striations? What are the muscles that you have those kind of striations? Can yes, right. So you can see from those two, anyone, both of them have those sort of striations, right? So tell me why. Uh, what is the reason for having these striations? What is the reason for having these striations? You don't need that, right? Because there are small units, right? Each muscle cell or muscle fiber is composed of small motor units that we call as all. They all get together to contract the muscle as a whole, that are called sarcomeres. Okay, but if you take these two, they are both striated. Okay, so now we have to identify which one is which, right? The best identifying factor is these sort of branching, right? පේනවනේ හොඳට branch වෙලා තියෙනවා. This muscle is branched. These muscles sort of are cylindrical cells, right? Can you see? These are cylindrical cells. Yes. So because of this branching, we can quickly come to the conclusion this is a cardiac muscle, right? This is a cardiac muscle. Then there's another thing about this cardiac muscle other than this branching. Can you see there are this sort of black color connections that are connecting sort of two muscle fibers together? Can anyone tell me what is the name of those? Those are intercalated discs. Yes, intercalated discs. Hey, Peter, why do we have these intercalated discs? But if you come to the, this is so okay. So this is a skeletal muscle. Okay, then we have identified that. Right? So this is skeletal muscle. Why don't skeletal muscles have these intercalated discs? Do you know that? Why do we have this intercalated disc? Do you know that? That's because no, not really. That's because these intercalated discs are connecting the muscle cells together. So that's because your heart is not a Mehemer contracting muscle. What do you mean by Mehemer contract? So imagine this is the bicep, right, that is going to get shortened to convert my bend my elbow, right? So that bending my elbow only requires the muscle to short. Muscle like a short to naha. But your heart is not like that. It's like a blood bag, right? It's a bag of blood that can contract or squeeze like this. So the heart is not just shortening, it's squeezing blood. It's squeezing out blood. So in order to squeeze out blood, the entire heart should contract as like a bag. Imagine it as a muscular bag. So for that, the heart not only shortens, the heart also contracts in this direction, right? It's not only shortening, it's contracting in this direction as well. So for that, the heart muscle cells are interconnected by intercalated discs, but the skeletal muscles need only to shorten like this. Okay, understood. Yes. Okay. So what's the question asking? So we found out that okay. Then we come to this tissue. What is this tissue? The other remaining tissue. You can see these muscle cells are sort of what spindle shape. Ne? What do you mean by a spindle shape? Maybe elongated. No, two pointy ends, and they are sort of like this. No? So elongated. And you can clearly see they don't have any cross striations. So you can come to the conclusion they are smooth. Neither. So what right then? What about this one? What about this one? What is this remaining? So they are saying මෙතන plant cell එකකුත් ඉන්න පුළුවන් කියලානේ. They are saying there can be a plant tissue also. You can see these cells are sort of spherical and their cell walls are very thin. No? Their cell walls are very thin. So what can that be? A tissue with very thin cell walls. What can that be? Yes. Yeah, those can be parenchyma. How do you know if it's a collenchyma? How do you know if it's a collenchyma? Collenchyma are usually sort of boxy, right? We call it polygonal in cross section. Collenchyma ටිකක් මෙහෙම polygonal. Why is that? Why is collenchyma bit polygonal? Because if you draw a cross section of collenchyma මෙහෙම, you can see in their sort of these corners they have deposits of what? Cellulose. මෙහෙම in these corners they have cellulose deposits. More cellulose than if you take a parenchyma. Right? More cellulose than if you take a parenchyma. So your collenchyma is more boxy or polygonal shaped, sharp edges. Okay, got it. They're on it. So what is this? What common feature can be seen in a tissue when various plants and animal tissues are observed? What is a common feature that you can see? What is a common feature? Tricky question. No. Cell wall absence කියන්න බෑනේ. So definitely there's no cell wall in animal tissue. What is the definition of a tissue? What is the definition of a tissue? ටක් ගාලා කියන්න. What do you mean by a tissue? What do you mean by a tissue? Right. මෙතන හොඳට මතක් කරන්න. A group of cells with common origin modified to perform a particular function. Right. So if you take a tissue, what is the common feature that you are able to observe? Mostly it's composed of identical cells, right? If you take a tissue, it's mostly composed of identical cells. Because why? They have a common origin, so they are modified to usually to perform a sort of similar function, right? Consist of identical cells. හැම එකේම nucleus නෑ. Nucleus ඇති cell එකක් කියන්න බෑ. Name some type of. There are so many tissues. There are so many tissues without, I mean, with cells that don't have a nucleus. කියන්න බෑ. Yes. Yes, sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma, if you take a plant, there are no nucleus in a sclerenchyma tissue, right? Because they are what? Sclerenchyma. මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? They are dead. Sclerenchyma tissues are dead. So they don't have a nucleus or anything, right? They don't have a cytoplasm or nothing. Okay. Right. So that question is over. Right. Then we'll come to same 2018. No, wait. There's another question that I wanted to discuss. Ah, yes, this 2018. Right? Structured essay. Okay, structured essay. Concept map prepared incorporating some functions occurring in the human body and the structures related to it. A is a digestive product containing only carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Name it. Only carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Digestive product containing only carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. What can it be? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Carbohydrates, it can, right? They're asking A, no? Can you absorb carbohydrates? On the demand. So you can eat carbohydrates. So alimentary canal is there, and in the alimentary canal they say absorbed into blood. So if you want to absorb something, what has to be done to it? It has to be digested. So if you take a carbohydrate, that means it's a big term, no? So agolo pan kallak kava, that's carbohydrate. It contains, but what does it contain? It contains starch. Starch you can't absorb. You have to break down starch. Breaking down starch produces what? A carbohydrate that you can absorb. So I think they won't give you marks for saying carbohydrate. The best answer to write is what? Your glucose. What is the formula for glucose, Canaba? C6H12O6. Simple, no? Okay. State a digestive product absorbed from the lacteal in the alimentary canal without being absorbed into blood. Now, so we would make a plan, make a balloon, right? So so A we know it's glucose. Glucose there's an associated organ here. Uh, Goes to the liver, comes down, a structural unit which received another part, okay. Then goes to C, oxygen neck C react kalla, you get D and water. Right? So stated digestive product absorbed by the lacteal in the alimentary canal without being absorbed into blood. Right? I'll show you what this lacteal is. Right? I'll show you what this lacteal is. Do you have an idea about what an lacteal is? Right? Pretty fun. I'll show you what a lacteal is. So if you take your digestive system, right, අපි මෙහෙම cross section එකකට ගියොත් your small intestine, okay, if you go to a cross section of your small intestine, right, this is small intestine, we are going to nicely cut it. We have cut a slice open, and we are going to see a cross section. Can you see මන්න මෙන්න මෙහෙම view එකක් ගත්තහම can you see there are නිකන් bumps වගේ තියෙනවා. What do you call those bumps? Yes, what do you call those bumps? Not villi. Those are folds. Okay, those are folds. Right? That they are there to increase the surface area. Right? Villi are actually very small. You can't see villi in this view. I'll show you a villus next. Villi make him pay. These are මෙහෙම rally වගේ. Those are folds. Right? Then I'll show you a villus. මෙන්න මේක තමයි villus එක. You can see some few villi. Plural is villi. Villus. Okay. So can you see? These are the finger-like projections. Right. In this view, you can't see, but if you take a cross section like this, and if we zoom in, you will see. I mean, there should be small hair-like things that are coming out from these surface cells. Those are your microvilli. Those are your microvilli. Yes. So I wanted to show you this cross section of a villus, right? Like this. You can see three things inside this villus, right? You can see the two blood vessels, right? There's a red one that is bringing blood, and the blue one is taking away blood. What I wanted to show you is this green one. That is your lacteal. That is your lacteal. Green color lacteal. Can you see this green color lacteal is connected to this green color vessel that is going like this. Okay. What is that lacteal connected to? Do you know this? What is that lacteal connected to? Kenba? What is that lacteal connected to? That lacteal is connected to a system that we call as, yes, a system that we call as your lymphatic system, right? So this is the view of the lymphatic system. I'll remove the bones, right? This is your green color lymphatic system, right? Lymphatic system has lymph vessels, okay, lymph vessels and certain organs that are part of the lymphatic system, such as this spleen කියලා කියනවා මෙතන, okay, right? So at the end of the day, the lymphatic system is going to collect fluid from everywhere in the body, and it's going to bring that fluid and give it to what? It's going to give it to the blood circulatory system here in the neck. Right? There's a duct in your left side called the thoracic duct, and in the right side there's also another duct called the right lymphatic duct. But do you have another name for it in your syllabus? I'll hold on. I'll check and tell you. It's the right lymphatic duct, and the left duct is called the thoracic duct. Right. Okay. So the lymphatic system brings that fluid into the blood circulatory system. Yeah, there's a question: can it be swollen? There's a part of the lymphatic system that is called the lymph nodes. Maybe you know the dot in green color. There is a lymphatic system, right? So if you have a bacterial, or sorry, some sort of infection, right? For example, sore throat එකක් වගේ තියෙනවා, these lymph nodes මේ තියෙන මේ underneath your jaw can become swollen. Particularly, that's the common one, right? If you have a sore throat, it can become common. But if you have a injury anywhere else in the body, right, the related lymph nodes can become swollen, right? There's lymph nodes in the legs, there's lymph nodes everywhere. In your hip area, right, ine ukule, there are lymph nodes, right? So those can become swollen as well. Okay, quickly, that's clear, right? So the digestive product absorbed by the lacteal. So what is the digestive product that is going to be absorbed into the lacteal? Lipid, no? So lipids, you can't absorb lipids directly. Lipids are going to be broken down to what? Fatty acid plus glycerols, no? So those will be absorbed into the lacteal. A part of the nutrient A is stored in B liver. So liver is B, right? Hurry. Before the storing, it gets converted into another chemical substance. What is that substance? Right. Vadipura glucose tibbama, what's going to happen? You can't store glucose. Can you tell me why you can't store glucose? I have to glucose store කරන්න බැරි. Why can't you we store glucose? It's a simple logic because it's a monosaccharide. Okay, it's a simple sugar. Um, it's water soluble. It's water soluble, so you can't store it. Right? ඒක නිකන් අපි store කරලා යනවා ඊළඟට අවිල්ල බලද්දි ඒක දිය වෙලා ගිහිල්ලා. Right? But on the other hand, a storage substance should be something that you can store. So main property is it's not water soluble because in why? Everywhere in your body you have water. Right? Everywhere in your body you have water. If you want to store something, it should be water insoluble. නැත්තම් ඇවිල්ලා බලද්දි තියපු ටික නෑ. මෙතන තිබ්බ glucose ටිකකෝ. Okay. So it has to be converted to an insoluble substance. There is a polysaccharide that is glycogen. It is glycogen. Okay. What is the structural unit represented by C? What is the structural unit represented by C? Something happens in C, නේද? Right? Part is stored, the structural unit which removes another part, right? අපි C කියලා කියනවා. This can be, I mean, so what are we providing? We are giving oxygen and we are giving, then we can Whatever the thing that is stored is broken down, then we are supplying it here. Then you are getting water and also energy, Thambina. So what can this be? It's probably body cells. Some any kind of body cell. Any kind of body cell can be, right? So you can say cells, right? You can say cells, or either inside the cell. What is the place where you have this process happening? What is this process first of all? This is cellular respiration. So it is mitochondria किंवा you are going to get marks. Mitochondria किंवा tissue එක. Okay, mitochondria किंवा tissue එක. Hmm. A structural unit, it can be a cell or mitochondria. D is produced as a product of a chemical process, right? What is D, right? So if you write a balanced equation, අපි කියමු C6H12O6, you know how to balance. If you are doing what we call as aerobic respiration with oxygen, we are using oxygen and we are getting what? Water hambinawa, then we are going to get carbon dioxide. Make a balance korot. How do you balance it? There is 6 carbons here, 6 carbons here, 12 hydrogens here, therefore 6H2O. Then there are 6 oxygens here on this side, there's 18 here, right? So there are 6 oxygen indeed, right? This is your aerobic respiration. What is D? Then D is carbon dioxide. What is the reason for not considering E as an excretory product? What is E here? This is what? Your feces, no? Feces. Why do you consider not? Why do you not consider feces as an excretory product? Kinaba? Yes, it's leftover of whatever you ate, right? It's leftover product of whatever you ate. Imagine you eat a large amount of plant matter. Now, herbivore can ignore, right? Imagine you ate a large amount of plant matter, then your feces will increase. But does that mean that is an excretory product? An excretory product should always be produced inside cells. It's part of the cellular metabolism, right? Excretory product is always part of cellular metabolism, right? This is not that. This is whatever remaining of whatever you ate, right? කලින් දවසේ රෑ කාපු ටික තමයි feces විදියට එළියට එන්නේ, right? So the best answer it's not a product of metabolic activity කිව්වත් okay, or it's you can just say it is undigested food. Okay. Four main processes taking place in the body relevant to the above concept map given in the incomplete flow chart below. Fill in the blanks. Fill in the blank boxes. Digestion of food, transport of products, blank. What do you think? After you have digested, what should be done? After you have digested, what should be done? Right? In the small intestine, mainly where the digestion happens. What do you have to do? You have to absorb. No? Absorb. What do you mean by absorption? Again, so imagine this is the cell layer, right? This is your small intestine layer lining. So imagine on this side you have glucose. So it has been broken down. It will go across these cells and probably go into blood. Right? Usually your blood, or it can be the lymphatic system that is transporting digestive products. Right? Then finally, what are we going to use? These products of digestion. You can use it to get energy, right? You can use it to get energy by how? By cellular respiration. Energy can right? So I'm just saying you can use it for cellular respiration. Or you can imagine it's like protein. Protein wage deyak nang it's whatever you absorb, it's like protein. Amino acids. You broke it down to amino acids. Right? You can deposit it. Oh, sorry, you can assimilate it. What do you mean by assimilation? You can use it for other uses, such as repairing of body cells, or you can make grow new muscles, grow new cells. Finally, if you ate a lot of fat, තෙල් ගොඩක් කෑවා නම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? මාසයක් විතර තිස්සේ හොඳට කොත්තු කෑවොත් right, what's going to happen? You have to know your body has no other option but to deposit all that fat, right, around your belly or neck, right? So it can be either deposition as well. Yes, there's a question where about aerobic or anaerobic respiration. So cellular respiration can be what? Anaerobic වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, aerobic වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. Sorry. Cellular respiration කිව්වහම they both are included, right? When you mean cellular respiration, it can be aerobic or anaerobic. Neither. So anything can help. Okay, right. Make it ගාලා කියලා දෙන්නම්කෝ, right? Otherwise the structure is I mean that question is incomplete, right? Any question from this? The figure below indicates part of a dicot plant with a leaf. What is the main morphological feature that can be used to identify that this leaf belongs to dicot plant? What has happened here? Right, හොඳට branch වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. The leaf has veins that are nicely branched. My point is, don't think too serious, right? These are things you know, right? What is the main morphological feature? What do we call this? This is your reticulate venation. Venation or venation means what? The veins, what is the behavior of the veins? Make a අනිත් the other venation? Parallel venation. Right? නිකන් පොල් කොලයක් වගේ එකක් ගත්තොත් මෙහෙම දිගට you have veins running in parallel. If you take a grass leaf or whatever, right, that is parallel venation. State the morphological feature of the root system of the plant to which this leaf belongs. So, what sort of plant are these? These are dicots. These are dicots. Dicots are මොනවද? What do dicots have? What do dicots have? They have most importantly, they have a tap. Okay, they have a taproot system. Taproot means there's a central main root. Okay. Select a morphological feature in which of the stem of a monocot plant differs from the stem of a plant to which this leaf belongs. Okay. Right. අපි යමු ඒකට textbook එකට. Monocot and dicot differences. Which lesson do you have that? Where you have monocot and dicot plant differences, I want to exactly show you that. Is it? Yeah, this lesson, no? You don't have the structure of the stem. What are they asking? In the stem. Okay, sorry. Right? Okay. Stem of a monocot plant from differs from the yes, okay. I was thinking a bit too seriously. Okay. Right? A monocot plant. නිකන් පොල් ගහක් imagine කරන්න. Monocot plant is what? කියන්නේ. It's unbranched. Okay. A monocot plant is unbranched and a dicot um, plant usually have branching. A dicot usually have branch. Okay. Okay. I'll show you something like this. මෙහෙම එකක් I can show you some of these differences. Okay, this is one of the tunes I hand over in my class. So actually in my class for the A-level people, we are going to start the next lesson that is called, particularly it's mainly involved with how different I mean the, let's say you can say it's mainly the evolution of plants. So we haven't seen that. So if you take your monocots. Why do we call them as monocots? Is because if you take their leaf, they only have one sort of this leaflet in their embryo, right? එකක් තියෙන්නේ. ඊළඟට if you take a dicot, they have two cotyledons, what we call as cotyledons. And this is what we know. This is the leaves have parallel venation in monocots, and you have branching leaves, net-like leaves, sorry, veins in your dicots, and the roots are like this, නිකන් fibrous roots, right? It's like a bush, right? The roots are like a bush. If you take your dicots, they have a nice central main root, which is called as a taproot, right? Then you can, if you come here, right, in your monocots, the flowers usually have, let's say, floral organs, petals, sepals, or ඕනම එකක් multiples of 3. Then මෙතන මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So 3 6 9 12 ඔය වගේ flower parts තියෙනවා, right? If you come to here, you can see it's what we call as pentamerous or tetramerous. So you can see in this flower 1 2 3 4 5 5 petals, right? So usually multiples of 4 or 5 you can see in dicots. Okay, so these are some of the structural differences you need to know. Okay, yeah, right. See the morphological, okay, right. This figure indicates an apparatus set up by a student for an experiment conducted with regard to photosynthesis. Mention the aim. මොකද්ද අපි මේකෙන් expect කරන්නේ? What is the student expecting from this? What is the student expecting from doing this experiment? So we have, there's a plant and it's covered by a glass jar and it is provided with light. Very, very important detail, KOH. Very, very important detail, KOH. What is done by KOH in this experiment? Wherever KOH is there, this KOH is going to absorb any carbon dioxide. Right? Wherever KOH is there, it's going to absorb carbon dioxide. Right? So if you remove the carbon dioxide, what can you see? If you remove the carbon dioxide, what will you be able to observe in this experiment? Yes. Photosynthesis doesn't occur. Okay, you can say that. Photosynthesis doesn't occur. You can say that. What will you be able to observe? What will you be able to observe? Give me 1 minute, right? Hold on. Um, Photosynthesis doesn't happen. Why does photosynthesis doesn't happen? Because the CO2 was absorbed by the KOH, right? Because the CO2 was absorbed by the KOH. So it's draw label sketch of the control experiment suitable, right? What do you mean by the control experiment? Right? So in a control experiment, you have to remove the whatever the condition that is preventing photosynthesis from happening in this setup. Whatever the condition that is preventing photosynthesis from happening in this setup. What is preventing photosynthesis from happening in this setup? That is the KOH, right? So better, I mean, the control experiment is exactly the same thing. Make a with the plant in the middle, right? Instead of KOH, you can just put some water here. Instead of the KOH, you can put some water there. Okay. Yes. Without the KOH, just put some water there. Okay. Okay. Right. So that is the 2018 paper. Api Balamu, is there anything in the MCQ that is interesting? Given here is a diagram, right? මෙතන චුට්ටි MCQ එකක් තියෙනවා. Given here is a diagram of a plant cell. What are the parts indicated in it that are seen in animal cells as well? Okay. Everyone that is in the meeting, send me the answer for this quickly. Question number 23. Send me the answer quickly. Okay. Yeah, I think all of you are in the right. Okay. Yeah. If you take a plant cell, they are modified to do color photosynthesis. So they are only going to have only usually, yeah, what are the let's say organisms that are able to do photosynthesis? You are usually green plants and also algae. Right. So plants are only going to have chloroplast and also what else? Usually cell walls are not found in animal cells. Cell walls can be found in fungal cells and plant cells and bacteria, those kind of cells. Right? So cell wall and chloroplast is definitely out from an animal cell. So cytoplasm and cell membrane. These are things that are common to any living cell. Any living cell. What is the other thing that is common to any living cell? They have ribosomes. They have ribosomes. Okay, ribosomes are there in any living cell, right? Ribosomes are there in any living cell. Understood? Okay, right. I think we better go on to plant leaf with colors white and green while attached to the plant was set out as follows and kept in a open place. After 2 days, the leaf was detached from the plant and tested for starch. After the test, in which of the following ways would the leaf appear? Right. So, what is the simple logic? Right. What is the reason? What gives green color to this plant leaf? What is the compound that gives the green color? Chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll thing the color. So, because of the chlorophyll, there is a green color. That means what? In a white region, there is no chlorophyll. So, if you don't have chlorophyll, what can't you do? You can't do photosynthesis. Photosynthesis can't is not happening means what? You are not producing starch. You are not producing starch, right? So, definitely in these white regions, there was no starch even before you covered it with a black paper. Then we black paper can cover karat නැතත් even before you covered it, there was no um, starch in those white regions because there is no photosynthesis happening. So what's going to happen when you add starch, right? Testing for starch. What is the compound that you are using to test for starch? You are using iodine. You are using iodine. So when you add iodine to starch, what's going to happen? It's going to produce a black blue color. It's going to produce a blackish blue color. No? So when you have starch, you get this. When you have starch, you get this. Right? So what is the best answer? Wherever you have starch, you are going to have what? Black blue color. So when we this on these two edges, which was white color, there was never starch. So they are not going to be blue or black colored. And in the center where you pasted a black paper, there's not going to be any photosynthesis happening, because why? We covered it. Photosynthesis is not happening. Therefore, only in the green color parts that were not covered, you are going to have starch. Therefore, you're going to get blue, black color. Understood? Right? Simple, simple, simple. Right? I think let's move on to 2019 paper. Right? Let's move on to 2019 paper. Any questions? Anything you want to get clarified? Anything you want me to clarify? Right? අපි jump කරමු to the structured essay. Okay. Question number 2. Okay. Question number 2. Okay. Not really. I can't read Tamil. You want me to discuss that 2018 first question as well? Okay. Right. Okay. I'll discuss it. My main focus was to actually finish, yeah, this animal function parts. But if okay, I'll finish the 2018 paper in a complete manner, right? Otherwise, it's not come incompletely. Okay. So, okay. So this structure is a question people are asking. Okay. There's a okay. Figure below illustrates a setting of a factory located close to a settlement area and its surroundings. A few years after the commissioning of the factory, environmental problems emerge. So there's a Taggala factory at you have exhaust gases coming out. There's sound. There is garbage, right? Then the lightings, then there is effluent water going into the river. So those are the things that are being done by this factory. Neither. State two instances in which loss of energy occurs in relation to the factory as illustrated in the figure, right? So this one, machines emitting intense noise is a form of energy loss, right? That is understood, right? Noise we don't, it's not useful. The machine noise there, it has no function, right? Machine noise is not useful, so we don't need that. Okay. What else? Um, you can say this lighting of electric lamps නේද කියන්න බෑනේ ඒවා දවල්ටද පත්තු කරලා තියෙන කියලා lighting of electric lamps, right? It can be something like that. What else? Mm, machines emitting loud noise. Those are the things I can imagine as proper, but because there's a cooling system, so probably they need a cooling system because they need cooling, right? Cooling system, because they have a cooling system because they need to cool something, right? That is the main reason. Okay, otherwise they won't have a cooling system, right? So probably that is the reason. Uh, anyway, right? I think these are the two best answers. Right? Two problems leading to environmental pollution which may emerge due to this factory. කියන්න two problems මෙතන තියෙනවා බලලා ලියන්න තියෙන්නේ. Right? There is collection of garbage. Right? You can say adding of effluent water into the stream. Right? What else you can say? Instance noise in the, you can say sound pollution. Right? Emitting heat to the environment through these exhaust gases or even through this cooling system. There is heat going to the environment. Right? Or you can say emission of exhaust gases to the atmosphere. All those can be problematic. A group of students who counted once in 6 months the number of fish in a specific area down the stream, plotted a graph. That growth curve was found to differ from the typical population and assume the shape. Okay. In which phase does the number of fish begin to decrease in the population? Okay. So this is the proper curve. Make a proper curve, right? So just as this growth is about to become the maximum rate of growth, what do you call that? The phase that where the growth becomes maximum? What do you call that phase that becomes the more maximum? Or you can say, according to this, it's usually the phase two. Method phase is 290. It's the phase two. What we can call it according to this sort of mathematical graph, you can call it, it's an exponential place, exponential variable. Right? It's the area, I mean, it's the time of that, let's say, in that curve where the growth will increase massively. Right? So it begins to decrease in the exponential phase, or you can say it's the high growth. In the stream study, the factors, the number of fish, the temperature of the water, amount of heavy metals were measured for a period of about 4 years. Okay. The result of it. What factor can be given as the nearest cause for the decrease in fish population? Now, right. So the amount of heavy metals are slowly increasing. Okay. What else did they study? Temperature and amount of heavy metals. Then may these things are both bad. No, heavy metals can be poisonous, and the temperature can inhibit the growth and reproduction of the fish. Right? You can see the growth. I mean, let's say the increase in heavy metals was actually almost constant. No, almost constant. But the temperature has started to increase just as the number of fish has started to drop. Ned. So what is, I mean, this is logic. Right? Logic එක දාලා you can ටක් ගාලා understand. It's definitely the temperature. It's definitely the temperature that is going to have the main effect. After some time, because of the entry of heavy metals into the blood of the people, they were subject to nervous disorders. Okay. Right? Schematically using arrows, the instances of the process in which the heavy metals get into blood like this. Yes. What are the ways that heavy metals can enter? What are the ways that heavy metals can enter, right? So actually heavy metals more than the nervous system in Sri Lanka, what is the most common thing that is caused by heavy metals in the body or heavy metals to people? What is the most common problem? Alatino, that is actually kidney diseases, right? That is actually kidney diseases. That is mostly common. I mean, most common disorder caused by heavy metals. It can cause nervous problems. Yes, it can cause death of cells as well, right? Chronic kidney disease. Yes. So definitely everything starts because there is effluent, right? Effluent goes into the stream, and stream again, what's going to happen? You take that water to directly for drinking. Right? You drink it, you put it into the crops, and fish, you eat the fish, right? What else? Those are the common things, right? Directly by drinking, it gets into blood. Through the crops, Crops become food. By eating the food, they get into your body. Fish is food, so that is after the food being digested, it goes into your blood. And there is another way, effluent gases, right? Because of this the factory, you can see there is exhaust gases coming out, right? So that can go into the atmosphere, and through the atmosphere, through the air, you can inhale. Air, I think you can inhale. You can say respiration. That is another way that these heavy metals can get into your blood. Yes. Two advantages of applying organic fertilizer for cultivated land. මේව නිකන් ශිෂ්‍යත්ව කාලෙත් කරන්නේ නේද? Right? Importance of maintaining organic organic fertilizer. Applying organic fertilizer. Oh, no, wait, I missed one. Importance of maintaining organic cultivation as shown in figure as a polyculture. What do you mean by polyculture? Right. So that's what that's going to do is several things, right? In the cultivation, it's going to prevent the spread of pests, right? It's going to prevent the spread of pests because there are several number of crops growing at the same time, right? Then what else? Then the competition for resources is reduced because why? There are several types of crops in the cultivation at the same time, right? Several types of crops in the cultivation at the same time. It says organic cultivation, yes, organic. There are several crops at the same time. That is one reason. What else you can say? You can say pests, right? Reducing pests with resistance because again it's the same thing. Right? Several types of crops are there at the same time. Ehinda, the pests do not develop a resistance, right? So any of those, one of those you can write. To advantage the applying organic fertilizer. Organic fertilizer, because they are composed of organic matter, their composition is very similar to the soil. So you can say it maintains the soil texture. What do you mean by soil texture? Right? It's like the nature of the soil is maintained. Right? That is going to lead to increasing the soil air. Soil air, you can say, or you can say ventilating the soil. Then, because of this maintenance soil texture, another benefit is soil water. Soil water is retained. අපි කියනවනේ අර මේ යූරියා හැම ගොඩක් use කරාම what's going to happen when you use urea for a long time? That is going to reduce the texture of the soil to sort of almost sand-like level. වැලි වගේ වෙනවා the soil, right? The soil becomes almost sand-like. Therefore, the soil texture drops. The water retention in the soil drops, right? What else? Other thing, very important. Organic fertilizers are very favorable to the living organisms in the soil. Right? Very favorable to the living organisms. So increases the activity of soil organisms. You can even say it's favorable for soil organisms. From time to time, the waste products of the factory are sorted out and dispersed, right? Sorted out and dispersed. When the production of waste is high, they are mixed, piled up as garbage, and disposed at a later stage. What is the advantage of disposed waste separately from time to time than disposing them as garbage after mixing and piling up? What can you do? වෙන් කියලා දුන්නාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? What can you do if you separate your waste, right? Yes. People send your questions to the main chat. Okay, I'm missing your questions because you sent to me as private. Yeah, one of the example is best thing is you can easily recycle. Easily recycle. That is one advantage, right? Or that is recycling means that means they can be reused. Um, you can also say reducing environmental pollution, right? Because particularly if you have organic garbage piled up for a long time, sort of methane like gases can be produced. Methane like gases can be produced. Or matakada, what in all those um, large scale landfills, right? When we pile up garbage on a land for a long time, they get into massive mountains of garbage. Blue Mandel වගේ ඔය තියෙන ancient lands landfills. So from time to time, fires can break out. ගිනි ගන්න. Why is that? Because organic matter will be digested by methane producing bacteria producing methane which is flammable. So this methane gas can get catch fire and there can be explosions. And methane is a greenhouse gas. Yes, I saw. Yeah, methane is a greenhouse gas. Controlling the rising global warming as personal responsibility, it is important to minimize the environmental indicators such as one's carbon footprint, water footprint, and food mileage. Okay. Consume flour made in the factory from cereals imported from abroad. By raising which environmental indicator given above do the people contribute to global warming by this practice? The distance the food is traveling, they are consuming flour imported. Imported rotting up. Yes. Whenever the distance the food has to travel increases, that increases the food mileage. Right. So what is the main thing that these people are contributing? It is to food mileage. Okay. There's a question they're asking, what is water footprint? Right. I'll cover these when in the next seminar when we are talking about the biosphere. Water footprint is basically what? The amount of fresh water utilized in the production of supply of a particular food, I mean, a good or a service by a particular person or a group, right? Basically, the amount of water needed to produce a unit amount of food, right? So, usually, something very complex food, some sort of very complex food that requires a lot of ingredients, right? That requires a lot of ingredients and also a lot of processing, a lot of processing, usually going to have a large footprint, such as chocolate, right? Sort of sweet things, right? Because why? That chocolate has to be harvested and will have to undergo so many processes of cleaning and mixing, right? And also certain organic products, such as the production of meats, right? In large animals such as cows, they consume a lot of water during their life. So that is going to increase their water footprint, right? Any questions? By raising which environmental indicator? Yes, mainly they are increasing their food mileage. Okay, right. That's okay, right? Anything else? Right. We'll move on to 2019 paper. Right. We are running out of time. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ attention span එකක් decrease වෙනවා. I know with time. Right. Attention span is decreasing with time. Okay. Right. Let's focus on bit on the animal form. Wait. This. So this is the second structure, is it? So the first structure is a chemistry, no? Okay. Oh no, wait, it's bio. Okay, sorry. Yes. Isn't there a question from animal function processes? Because that's my. Ah, okay. Let's try this one. Otherwise, okay. I want to explain this. Figure 1 represents a sketchy line diagram which shows the internal structure of the human heart. Name the blood vessels A, B, C, and D. Okay, right. I'll show you a small 3D view of this. Okay, right. To keep things interesting. Right. For biology, right? For biology, the most important thing in my understanding is that you have a visual idea. You have a visual idea. So when you are studying about the water footprint, think about how much water a cow drinks. Thinking when you are thinking about let's say food mileage, thinking about the flour traveling or like the wheat traveling to the Prima factory in a massive trip, massive ship with a long ocean journey coming to the port, right? Any questions? All right. So let's see a bit of the structure of the heart, right? So this is a heart with some of the structures removed, right? The front wall removed, right? What I want to show you is some of the valves, right? What do you call the valve on this right side of the heart? This is the right side. What do you call the valve on the right side of the heart? Can can you see it only has I mean it has three, right? Can you see? This is one, this is two, this is three. Can you see it has three flaps? Three flaps, right? One, two, and three. So it's tricuspid, right? Come to the left side of the heart. Can you see? May I say in a minute? This. So this is one such cusp. This is sorry. This is one cusp, and this is the other cusp. Right? This is one cusp, and the blue one is the other cusp. So that is bicuspid. Tricuspid and bicuspid valves. Tricuspid is on the right side. Bicuspid is on the left side. So that is you need to know. Then blood from the right side of the heart, that is this right ventricle, goes to the lungs through this valve that you can see here, this one, right, which is where the pulmonary artery starts. This is the pulmonary artery. It divides into two, and it's going to go into the two lungs. It's going to go into the two lungs. Okay. Then from the left ventricle, අපි මෙහෙම යටින් ඇතුළ බැලුවොත් heart එකේ ඔහොම, can you see here? What is this? This is one of the semilunar valves. Right? This is the semilunar valves. That is the beginning of this big blood vessel. That is the aorta. Aorta. Okay. Then blood from the lungs come to the heart by two pulmonary veins. Heart blood from the lungs come to the heart by මේ පැත්තෙන් pulmonary veins දෙකක් තියෙනවා. From this side there's two pulmonary veins, and on the other side there's another two pulmonary veins. Can you see? One and two. Okay. Then blood from all over the body, right? From the upper parts of the body, right? Above your heart, from your head, your two arms, comes to your heart by the superior vena cava. Superior vena cava, this superior vena cava. And from everywhere that is below your body, your legs, your abdomen, that blood comes with this inferior vena cava. Okay. So there is a basic plan of the heart that you need to know. Clear? So what are they asking in this question? Name the blood vessels A, B, C, and D. A is what? Kiyana ටක් ගාලා superior vena cava, SVC, right? Superior vena cava or SVC. Okay, right? එතකොට label කරමු. This is inferior vena cava, right? What else? They are asking A, B. B is what? Yes, B is the aorta. B is aorta, right? So you can see this is labeled the four chambers. This is right atrium. This is right ventricle. So right ventricle pumps blood to go into the lungs. So these are your what? C. C is what? Pulmonary. Yes. Taking blood away from the heart. Right? Taking blood away from the heart. Okay. That is their pulmonary artery. Always is the golden rule. This is a golden rule. A blood vessel that is taking blood away from the heart is a artery. Okay. A blood vessel that is bringing blood to the heart is a vein. That is the official definition of a vein and an artery. Okay. So what is happening? The pulmonary artery is taking blood from the heart to the lungs. Okay. Then what is D? Those are they are bringing blood to the heart from the lungs. So those are veins. What are they? They are pulmonary veins. එක පැත්තක දෙක ගානේ there's altogether four pulmonary veins. Where are they coming to? මෙහෙම අපි you can draw some openings. Where are they bringing blood to? Right. Sorry, I'm sorry. They are bringing blood to where? Left atrium. Then that blood goes to the bicuspid valve. So that is E is what? Bicuspid into the left ventricle. Into the left ventricle. Clear? Have a nice understanding about the structure of the. When comparing with the composition of the blood, question number 2, flowing through D. What is D? Okay, pulmonary veins. What is the main difference of the composition of blood flowing through C? What are the differences between C and D? Right. What do you need to know? Why is blood coming to the heart? Because they are low in oxygen. They are low in oxygen, right? So, to get oxygen, where do you have to go? To get oxygen, where do you have to go? To the lungs. So, blood that is traveling to the lungs are always low in oxygen. Okay. So, pulmonary artery is taking blood low in oxygen to the lungs to bring oxygen back. So, oxygen concentration is low in the blood traveling in C, and D or the pulmonary veins are bringing blood back to the heart from the lungs. So, they are high in oxygen, right? So, what do you have to say? You have to say what is the main difference in the blood flowing through C? Oxygen content is, you can say, oxygen concentration high. What is the valve named as E, that is bicuspid? Dekadanna. Describe briefly how the characteristic lub and duct. What is the larger sound? What is the larger sound or the bigger sound? Your lub sound, right? Lub. Lub sound happens because when the ventricles are contracting, left and right ventricles are squeezing, the blood should not go back into the blood should not go back into the atria, right? Because that is, you pump blood from the atria into the ventricles. So the ventricles are contracting, blood shouldn't go into the atria. Where should they go? They should go into the pulmonary artery and the aorta, not back into the atria, right? So for that, the bicuspid and the tricuspid valves must close. So when they are closing, there's a blub, there's a sound, right? That is the larger sound. Then there's a dup sound when the ventricles are relaxing. Ventricles are relaxed වෙනකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? Because of the blood pressure in the pulmonary artery as well as the aorta, the blood will try to come back into the ventricles. blood will try to come back into the ventricles. So therefore, there are valves here in the pulmonary artery and also in the aorta that are called what? Yeah, semilunar. There are semilunar valves. When the semilunar valves are closing, you get a dup sound. Figure 2 indicates the changes in the potential corresponding to the three stages of the cardiac cycle of a healthy person's ECG. Which stage of cardiac cycle is denoted by the T? Hmm. Which is denoted by T. Yes. So I have to be a bit careful here, but I don't want to give you any wrong idea. But what you have in your sort of O-level textbook is actually a bit um, what we call as a bit incorrect, right? So it doesn't matter. Okay. Changes in potential according to three stage. So P is what happens when the atria are contract. P is what you get when the atria are contracting. This QRS complex is what you are getting when you are contracting the ventricles. So the T is where actually your ventricles are, let's say the ventricles are recovering, right? Your ventricles are recovering. So that's what we call as intervening. Okay. Indicates changes in the potential. So which stage of the cardiac cycle? Sorry, they are asking which stage of the cardiac cycle. Yes, better to say this intervening is indicating what? Complete cardiac diastole, which is not exactly correct, but remember it like this. Once you come to do A level biology, api එක හරියට ඉගෙන ගන්න. Okay, right? Doesn't matter. Okay, so the T wave indicates recovery or intervening. Okay, complete cardiac diastole. Heart muscles are weakening by the blockage of blood vessels supplying blood to them by blood clots. By what name is this ailing condition known? Kianaban, what is this ailing condition? Blood clot එකක් ආවම clearly understand this, right? A blood clot is what we call as a thrombus. A blood clot is a thrombus. So when there is a blood clot obstructing, yes, you can hear me and see me, right? All good. Any drop in the quality? No, right? So then there is a blockage by a blood clot. We call it a thrombosis. Okay, right? Thrombosis එකක් වෙලා කියලා. Right? What is the condition that is actually leading to this? What is the condition that is actually leading to this? Yes. Actually, why you get this sort of thrombosis is because the thickness of the blood vessel wall is increased due to deposition of fat. මෙහෙම fat deposits in the thickness of the blood vessel has increased, right? So that's why you are getting these sort of blood clots. I'll show you a small video, right? Okay. So it's a very sort of it's very closely interconnected, all right? Because of this fat deposition, you are going to get what we call as atherosclerosis. Because of the atherosclerosis, the blood vessels become susceptible. Again, it's very easy for a blood vessel to be blocked, right? It becomes very easy for a blood vessel to become blocked, right? So, right, let's see this. So, imagine there's a blood vessel like this, okay? So, there's a blood vessel like this, and there is normally blood is flowing nicely, smoothly through there, right? Blood is flowing nice and smooth through this blood vessel, right? Then what's going to happen is with time, because of the high fat concentration, particularly what low density lipoproteins, right? So low density lipoprotein is actually a combination of cholesterol surrounded by a protein. It's like a cholesterol delivery package, low density lipoproteins, right? Low density lipoprotein is the main cause for atherosclerosis, formation of fatty deposits. Can you see this yellow color, low density lipoprotein? Then blood. So initially this blood vessel was nice and smooth, okay? It was nice and smooth because then the blood cells were able to travel through it, okay? Blood cells were able to travel through it, okay? Very nice, okay? What happens because of this fatty deposit? That blood flow becomes disturbed, and can you see the blood cells are not going very easily through it. So what's going to happen is with time, because of this obstruction, here blood cells accumulate and they will break. Because of the blood cells breaking, red blood cells breaking, that is going to cause a blood clot there, because the red blood cells have what we call as clotting factors. Okay, clotting factors are going to cause the formation of a thrombus, causing a condition that we call as thrombosis. Okay, causing thrombosis. Any questions? Okay. So what was the question? Heart muscles are weakened by the blockage. Okay. What is this condition known? It is known as thrombosis. Okay. Clear? It's better if you write. So they are asking in the heart muscle. No? Abhi samanya, what is what is the name that we give to something related to the heart? We call it coronary thrombosis. Coronary thrombosis. Okay. Right. Better to write that because they are asking heart. No? Right. Abhi we come to nice something genetical, right? So something from last week. Okay, we'll do this question and stop for the day. Otherwise, I know your attention span is dropping. Okay. 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 There's a what is the difference between atherosclerosis and thrombosis? I think this is worth explaining. Okay. I think this is worth explaining. Okay, it's like this. If you take atherosclerosis, if you take atherosclerosis, blood vessels, as I told you, are supposed to be very nice and smooth. The inside of the blood vessels are supposed to be very nice and smooth. Okay, that's the only way that blood can travel undisturbed. Have you heard of something called lamina flow? Right, nicely blood flowing without any disturbance. Right, blood is a dangerous thing. Huh? If you bother blood, it will start to clot. Okay, if you bother blood with anything, it will start to clot. Okay, so we are talking about atherosclerosis now. So what happens in atherosclerosis with time? So your blood vessels are supposed to be very nice and smooth. Huh? The inside is very smooth because of the high amount of cholesterol, particularly uh, as they are being transported as lipoproteins. Right, the most dangerous type of lipoprotein is your low density lipoprotein. Okay, so you have two types of lipoproteins. Right, lipoproteins is like this. you know your cholesterol is insoluble. Cholesterol කියලා කියන්නේ it's insoluble. So there is a mass of cholesterol that needs to be transferred, a bowl of cholesterol. It will be surrounded by this sort of proteins that makes it soluble in water. Right? This is a lipoprotein, right? මේගොල්ලන්ගේ the bigger lipoprotein that we call as um, high density lipoprotein is actually good, because what they are doing is something called reverse transport, so that they are actually protecting, or they are removing cholesterol. But these low density lipoproteins can easily open or break and release the cholesterol, and also they can damage this blood vessel line, right? So what's going to happen is these low density lipoproteins are going to bring their cholesterol, and with time they will produce a layer of fat like this. And with time, you only need to know this, right? With time, what's going to happen is this layer of fat is going to actually get muscle involved, muscle layers, right? Tick and tick, the fat layer gradually becomes bigger and bigger. It can occur in both walls, right? Gradually becomes bigger and bigger. So what's going to happen? Initially, the blood supply was nicely coming like this. It's going to be narrow. It's going to reduce. So only a small amount of blood is going further, right? So the blood supply is going to decrease, right? Blood supply is going to decrease. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to get, so if you consider coronary atherosclerosis, the first thing that's going to happen is the blood supply to the heart is reduced. So that is going to start slowly damaging the heart muscle, but not exactly killing it, right? So heart muscle is going to be suffering, right? There's going to be pain because the heart is not getting enough oxygen mainly, right? So the first thing that you are going to get because of atherosclerosis is not a heart attack, but you are going to get a pain. That is called angina. Angina pectoris. But angina is the chest pain that you're going to get. Do you have anyone that is having heart disease? Right? ඒගොල්ලන්ට දිවයට තියාගන්න capsule එකක් දීලා දෙනවා. There's a tablet they have been given to put under their tongue. Do you have anyone that is having heart problems? Right? It can be either be a spray. ගාලා they can spray under their tongue, right? So what's that going to do is there's a that drug, it can may increase the size of blood vessels so that the blood flow can somehow be increased when they are getting the chest pain, right? That is angina, chest pain, because of the low oxygen. What's going to happen is if this blood supply is going to be decreased for a long time, the heart muscle is going to die because of not receiving oxygen and nutrients. That is going to, at one day, this heart muscle is slowly dying. On a certain day, the heart will not have enough muscle cells. That the heart is composed of a limited number of cardiac muscle cells. One day, that the heart will lose enough cardiac muscles to keep functioning. That day, the heart is going to be very weak. That's why you are going to have a heart attack, right? So heart attack, or what we call as a myocardial infarction, is due to the death of heart muscle. So after certain number of heart attacks and with the death of a large number of heart muscle, your heart is not going to work as a very good heart. It's a useless heart. So your heart is going to fail as a heart. Therefore, it's a heart failure condition. Your heart is not a very good heart. That's a in sense, right? Pump එකක් විදිහට හරියට වැඩ කරන්නේ. Right? Your heart is not working as a good pump. Okay. That is atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is mainly something to do with the fat layer and the decrease in the blood level. Right? What is the main cause? Because of the high amount of cholesterol in the diet. Thrombosis can happen with or without atherosclerosis, right? Thrombosis කියන එක වෙන්න පුළුවන් with or without atherosclerosis, right? Thrombosis is not related to fat. It is related to a blood clot. Blood clot is composed of what? Blood clot is mainly composed of platelets, you know. Right? Several reasons can be there for blood clot. That is, something that can cause a blood clot is mainly a disturbance in the blood flow. So, if you take this atherosclerosis condition here, it is actually disturbing the blood flow. It is actually disturbing the blood flow. So, what can happen is there can be a blood clot forming here in this narrowed part. So, atherosclerosis can be taggala complicated by a blood clot causing a what? It's like atherothrombosis කියලා එකක් වෙනවා. Atherothrombosis. But without atherosclerosis, you can get thrombosis as well, right? Because of the damage to blood vessels due to smoking, alcohol consumption, high amount of salt in the diet, right? High blood pressure, right? High blood pressure can cause this sort of blood clot formation leading to thrombosis. So, if you are very stressed, if you don't do exercises, if your cardiovascular health overall is very low, you can get blood clots, right? Any questions? Right. Where were we? Yeah. We'll discuss this genetics question and we'll be done for the day. The number of chromosomes in a somatic or a body cell of mammalian animal species is 40. Right? 40ක් තියෙනවලු chromosomes. 40 chromosomes are there. What is the number of chromosomes contained in the daughter cells produced by the meiotic division of mother cells of X? Hmm. So this animal, if you take this, imagine this is a human or a, right? If you take one of their skin cells, that is skin cell or even a muscle cell or something, that is what we call as a stomatic cell, a cell that is not involved in reproduction. A cell that is not involved in reproduction is called a somatic cell. Okay. So they have 40. That means what? Their diploid number, that means when they have the full two sets of chromosomes, their diploid number is 40. But when you are doing meiosis, so where is meiosis happening? There is only one place in your body there is meiosis happening, only when you are going to produce gametes. So if you are a male, you have sperm mother cells in your testis where the sperms are produced. If you are a female, in your ovaries, you have what? Ovarian mother cells. Okay. So they are going to, those are the only two places where you have meiosis. So what's going to happen in meiosis? This haploid number is going to be decreased to diploid. So you are going to be only going to have 20 chromosomes in the daughter cells. Neither you are only going to have 20 chromosomes. How does a daughter cell formed by the mitotic? Sorry, name a daughter cell type formed by the meiotic division of gamete mother cells. I just mentioned. If you are a male, you can produce sperm. If you are a female, you can produce eggs. Or you can say ovum. How does a daughter cell formed by mitotic division differ from a daughter cell formed by meiotic division? Yes, in mitosis, what? Same number of chromosomes. किसी අවුලක් නැහැ, right? Mitosis is like photocopying. Mitosis is like doing a photocopy, right? No change in the number of chromosomes. If there is a change in the number of chromosomes, that is bad, right? You can't have any changes in mitosis. By meiosis, what's going to happen? It's going to what's going to happen? Just the same. You can just say in mitosis, daughter cells contain the same number of chromosomes as the mother cells, right? Same number of chromosomes as the mother cells. See, The garden pea plant seeds have two shapes, round and ring. The gene giving rise to round seeds is capital R, and the gene giving rise to wrinkle seed is simple R. The genotype of the plant with dominant homozygous genes for the seed is RR. Write the genotype of each of the following plant with regard to seed shape. So, what did Mendel say? මොනවාද Mendel, Gregor Mendel කියලා father කෙනෙක් හොයාගත්තේ? What did he find out? He knew that you have one set of genes that you receive from your father. One set of genes you receive from the mother. Those two sets of genes interact with each other to produce whatever the features that you have. නේද? අම්මගේ තාත්තගේ features mix වෙලානේ you get. But those genes can be what we call as dominant or recessive. What is the dominant gene? What do you mean by dominant gene? That is the powerful gene. That gene is going to cover the recessive gene when they are present together. ඒ කියන්නේ usually we indicate the dominant gene by capital R, recessive by simple R. So whenever you have this condition, this capital R is going to completely block this simple R. Okay. So whenever you have only one type of gene, it can be capital R or simple R. We call this a homozygous. Homo කියලා කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය එකම එකනේ. නිකන් homosexual කියලා කියන්නේ male male or female female නේද? ඒ වගේ homozygous කියලා කියන්නේ only both are the same. If you take capital RR, that is a dominant homozygous. So what are they asking? Recessive homozygous. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Simple RR නේ. Plant with heterozygous. Heterozygous කියලා කියන්නේ එකක් dominant එකක් recessive. That is simple capital R, simple R. Okay. Genetics is very simple. Okay. When a pure breeding garden pea plant with round seeds was crossed with a pure breeding garden pea plant with wrinkled seeds, all F1 generation plant had round seeds. In the F2 generation obtained by crossing the pea plants in F1, the ratio of the plants of the round seeds to the wrinkled seeds was 3:1. Write the genotype of F1 generation. If I remind, what is phenotype and what is genotype? Phenotype are the features that you can see in the outside of the animal. So, these wrinkled seeds and the round seeds, that is a phenotype. But they are genes that you can't see, but you can find out with experiments, that is a genotype. Okay. So, Mehemani, I think I drew this in the last seminar. So, what is the example that we are taking? Round versus wrinkled were cross. Pure breeding. Pure breeding කියලා කියන්නේ they are definitely capital R and capital R. These are definitely simple R and simple R. So what are the gametes that they can produce? මෙයාට තියෙන්නේ only one type of gene. So he can produce only what? Capital R gametes. මෙයාට තියෙන්නේ only simple R gametes. Sorry, genes. He can only produce simple R. So we are crossing these two. So what are we going to get as the F1 generation? Again, first filial generation. First generation, we are going to get as capital R, simple R. But this capital R is completely powerful over this simple R. So this simple R is going to be blocked. Therefore, what's going to happen? What is the outcome? Or can you see from the outside? The seeds are round. Then what we are going to do is we are going to cross this F1 with F1. F1 ලව F1 ලත් එක්ක මෙයාගේම generation එකේ තව අයෙක් cross කරනවා. We are crossing the same generation. So if you take F1, what are the types of gametes that he can produce? What are the types of gametes that he can produce? Can he has two options. He can produce two types of cables. Because why? He has two types of genes. He has two types of genes. What are the two types? So, maybe if you take the sperm, right? If these are the sperms, what are the sperms that he can produce? He can produce a capital R, he can produce C. If you take this side as the egg, he can produce again capital R or simple R, right? Then Taggala Panat square kandinna, right? What are the possibilities? Right? What are the possibilities? You can have capital R, capital R, you can have capital R, simple R, you can have capital R, simple R, you can have simple R, simple. This is the Punnett square. Okay, so this is the Punnett square. Definitely never forget to nicely label the sperm and the egg. Anivarama, when you're doing Punnett square, you have to say how, which side is the egg side, which side is the sperm side. Okay, so what is the question again? You understood this, right? Write the genotype of F1 generation. So F1 generation is capital R, simple R. Construct a Punnett square. Okay, so that's what we did. Write the genotype ratio of F2 generation. Genotype ratio. Right. So mata kiyanna, looking at this Punnett square, right? Taggala tell me what are the phenotypes? What can you see from outside? Capital R means okkumala round. Capital R, simple R means also round. Capital R again, simple R means round. Simple R means wrinkled. Wrinkled. You can use the symbol, right? You can use the symbol to indicate sperm and egg, right? Okay. You can use the symbols to indicate sperm and egg. Okay. Mehema sperm, mehemi egg. Okay. You can indicate sperm and egg. You see. Right. Capital again, phenotype ratio. What is the ratio? What is the ratio? Hold on. What is the phenotype ratio? That means what? Round to wrinkled ratio. What is a round to wrinkled ratio? You can see 1, 2, 3. 3 is to 1. What is the genotype ratio? What is the genotype? That means the different genetic combinations. What is the genotype ratio? What is the genotype ratio? You have RR, then you have capital R, simple R, then you have simple R, simple R. What is the ratio? 1 is to 2 is to 1. Ned? You don't balance phenotype and genotype as one ratio. You don't. Right? Phenotype and genotype, you don't balance. Right? You can there's a situation you can balance, but it's not what we call as Mendelian genetics, right? So in your syllabus, you only have Mendel genetics, no? Whatever the genetics that was found by Gregor Mendel. But in A levels, we have what we call as non-Mendelian genetics. And in some situations, you can have same phenotype and genotype. Okay, you just have to wait till you get to A levels. Okay, any questions you have? Right. So if you didn't understand the inheritance part, you can watch the recording of last week's. Right. I think in the final 2 hours we discussed inheritance. I explained to you what is a homologous chromosome, how do genes function, how do genes produce the phenotype, right? How to draw a Punnett square, what else did we talk about? Yes, those things we talked about last week. Okay. So with that, I think we can finish for the day, right? I will have another paper discussion, right? Probably next Monday before I'm supposed to stop classes. So I will allang, right? My right. I would get a lawsuit in my hands, right? Probably next Monday. Um, I will do another paper discussion after this Friday session. Okay. Yes, the recording will be sent to the group. Okay, and also available in my YouTube channel. If you are not in the groups, send a message to this number. Right, if you are not in the groups, send a message to this number. You will be added to the groups. Okay. Any questions that you want to clarify? Okay, all good. Then go back to studying after having dinner. Okay, we can finish for the day. All right, go back to studying. Okay. You don't only have science, no? තියෙනවනේ සිංහල වල කවි පාඩම් කරන්න ඒවා තියෙනවනේ ඉතිහාසය සෙල්ලිපි අරමුණක් තියෙනවනේ, right? I'm just trying to. Okay, right. Have a good night and keep studying. Okay, see you at the next session. Okay.